town board meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carried. The town board meeting is now in session. Next item on the agenda is public comments on agenda items only. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak on any agenda items? Okay, there being none, we move to public hearings. We have a public hearing tonight on the formation of the Town of East Fishkill water and sewer improvement areas. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Public hearing is now open. Just a little bit of discussion on the East Fishkill water and sewer improvement areas. These two, well, the two specific improvement areas are for across the street to the Cannon well fields, which will be service many different districts in the town. Hopewell Precision being one of them. One of the things that actually moved along the EPA project for the Hopewell Precision Superfund site was the fact that we were able to find a water source across the street. The other proposed project is the John Jay Sewer District, which is down on Route 52, and we'll be bringing sewer, and we have three different options here. The options are to bring sewer to John Jay, where we have an agreement with the school right now. It's a verbal agreement with the school to take over and operate and use their unused capacity in their 20,000 gallons a day sewer plant. IBM also has a very large sewer plant with a lot of excess capacity, or come up here to our plant up here. So these are the three projects. I would just like to make a quick mention that formation of the Town of East Fishkill water sewer improvement areas, these are like in addition to, we have 10 water districts already formed and 3 sewer districts. So when you form an improvement area, you do it town-wide, number one. And it's a town-wide entity, and what you can do is it allows you the funding to either create new districts like the one down on 52 for the sewer, or to connect districts. We're going to connect the well fields across the street to the EPA. Also, we're going to tie it, I think, Hopewell Glen. Scott, what other district were we going to tie it? We're going to feed into?
Proposed development across the street will be tied
Oh,
in. The hamlet
yep.
will be tied in.
Yeah,
Okay.
and eventually we're going to get Revere tied in.
And potentially Revere.
And there again is another project that would be an improvement area, because we're going to actually run a main for Revere
Right.
from our Fishkill Plains, which will be tied in.
Right, right.
So
I think the interim is definitely from Fishkill Plains for Revere, but long-term
it's going to be across
could be
the
from
street.
across the street, yeah.
So what we need to do is start, we've got a lot of the town resources invested in these already. We have preliminary plans, we've done a lot of well drilling and stuff, but we're really to a point where we need to fund these projects, we need to form these districts. So tonight, there's the discussion on forming the town-wide water and sewer improvement areas. So that being said, and I know we've discussed these projects before, what would happen is we would authorize the borrowing, and then we would borrow on behalf of a certain portion of the district, and every portion that benefits from it would pay for that borrowing. This would not be a burden on the taxpayer. It would be a burden on those people that benefit in the districts. So when we look down on, say, Route 52, we know that there's a large sports dome that would like to come into the area. Large sports dome that we would like to come into the area, because it looked like it'd be a great project for the area, and they need sewer. So if we were to build the sewer to include the sports dome and any of the buildings in the Old West complex, they would be the ones that pay the cost of that district. So this is just to authorize the establishment of these districts of the town-wide water and sewer improvement area, I should say. So. Does anybody have any questions? I just want to open that up to the board first, then anybody in the public like who's speaking for or against it.
Yeah, I had a question.
Sure.
So if we would propose then, if once we get all our wells on board across the street, Hopewell Glen, that 50,000 gallons a day that we take now from the county, or they take now from the county, is there any sort of clause that we won't have any penalty?
To be honest with you, I think we've discussed this, Scott. We probably would keep that.
At this stage, we're going to keep the 50,000.
The problem with the county water is a take-or-pay contract. So we know we'll use the 50, so there's never any penalty for the take-or-pay.
So then we would be blending that water?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
We'd be blending it, yep.
Okay.
And also, any surge in consumption, we would offset that, so we wouldn't trigger the take-or-pay with the county water.
It also gives us like an automatic redundant source, and God
Yeah.
forbid we ever have a problem, we're connected to a redundant source.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how about if it came to the point where we said, okay, whatever we decide to do in the future, we don't need that water any longer? Can we opt out of that contract?
I'd have to take a look at the contract.
Okay.
I forget the term of the contract.
And my other question was for Revere Park, that second well that we use for the redundancy is a problem because of the iron manganese, right?
At
At
Revere?
Revere.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second, we don't even operate the second well. at
Okay, so
Revere.
then we won't even have to bother with
We're
that.
going to shut
and-
those wells
okay,
down. The
very
minute
good.
we get our approval for Fishkill Plains, we're going to connect Revere Park
Yeah.
and
Alright.
shut those wells down.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the board at this point?
I met with the town engineer today. We discussed all of the stuff. At this time tonight, my understanding was to discuss this further rather than put it up for a bond. I think that the town engineer had presented 3 plans as far as the sewer is concerned, and they were to choose one of the better ones. That at this time yet, we don't know which one, because we do not have all the facts in place, which one would be the one to choose. I mean, from whatever we discussed today, probably as far as sewer on 52 near John Jay, it would be better to tie up John Jay with IBM.
Yes.
Okay, so are we going to have a discussion? I know you do not have all the results yet.
Well,
So-
if I may?
Yes, sure.
If I may, what will happen, we're just voting to create the townwide water and sewer improvement areas. And when we authorize the borrowing, it's like Peter always says, it's like a home equity loan. We're just authorizing it. But when we borrow, it will be for every specific project. Each specific project will be brought before the town board. In the case of a sewer or water plan, map plan and report, which will outline the district, the costs and everything like that. And that's the way we have to do it, so that we can apportion the cost to each district.
So if we put together the borrowing at this time, and we don't know which plan is the best one, before we actually go there, there's still going to be a discussion?
Oh, yes.
Which one is the less costly?
Oh, yes. But the thing, there's a time lag. So if you do need the funding, you should have it ready when the time comes that you're going to need it. And that's what this is. And Mark, I think I'm sorry, Scott.
In the case of like John Jay, we know there's, the 2 better options are the school and IBM, with IBM being the best option. But of course, we have a timing issue with the Dome project. Now, the pump station itself can be designed independent of whether we go to John Jay or whether we go to IBM. So if we have the funding in place, we can go forward with the design of that pump station, and we could even phase it to construct that pump station.
Yeah.
And then, by then, if the rest of it falls into place that we know we can go to IBM, then that force main will go to IBM. And
Right.
if we don't get the answer in time, then the force main will go to John Jay. But
Yeah.
we could at least do the pump station and the controls and the pumps and everything and get that built. Because that's not going to change.
And it gives us the flexibility of being able to act or do the
And it
project
saves us
as we
time.
need it.
It saves us time as we,
Yeah.
But at this time, we didn't even finish secret.
No, and that's why we're going to
So-
adjourn the public hearing
Okay.
tonight. The
Right.
planner's got to wrap
So
up.
there's no adoption?
No, there's no adoption tonight. This is just a public hearing. We'll adjourn the public hearing. There'll be no votes on it tonight. I just want to make everybody aware that this is the proposal. We'll be discussing it further next month. But like I say, as Peter says, it's a home equity loan. You authorize the borrowing, and when you need it, then we can authorize it per project, per specific project. And Mark, when we talk about our bonding, I mean, we have very little overall debt outstanding, correct?
Yes, I mean, we have a statutory borrowing limit. We're about 1.5% of that limit.
1.5% of the total limit that we are allowed to borrow.
That we're allowed
by
to
state
borrow.
law. And we don't want to go any further, we don't want to get close to that by any means, but I think we're very prudent in how we borrow, and I think we try to be very smart in how we use our funds. So, anybody else on the board before I open up?
What ballpark, if we gave a realistic ballpark right now, what are we looking to put out there for potential loan borrowing? What do we think the whole thing's gonna cost?
For which one?
The whole project, for the whole, both of them?
Well, I think
Because
The
the
it's-
sewer, I think, is 900 to $1 million.
To $1 million.
And across the street, Toll Brothers has put in about $1 million, and I think the EPA is going to contribute somewhere around $1 million, correct?
Or $1 million plus.
$1 million plus.
So we're looking at,
This is contributions.
so we're looking at about 3.1 right now.
Minus
We get
Something on that
other back.
order, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when you look at the enterprise fund contribution, it has a range of 290 to 1.9. That really is because of the EPA contribution. Question mark whether that project's.
But we're gonna
move
borrow
forward.
the 3.1 and then wait for them to give us our money back? and we
Well,
can
well,
pay that
no,
right
we're
off
gonna
the
need,
loan.
we're gonna need a commitment from
From
them
them.
because it's gonna affect the scale of our project.
Right.
Filtration, not storage, because they're putting up their own storage, but filtration, pipe sizing, things of that nature. You know, there's an addition that's gonna go on the existing building, you know, it'll affect those things. So we don't wanna build more than we need, so we're gonna need their commitment.
Yeah.
But then potentially it'd be a reimbursement, yes.
Yeah, but based on what, if we're going max, we'd be looking at 3.1 total, ballpark.
Yes.
Okay.
And what kind of a timeline are we looking at here? How long before all of this is done? How far out?
Well, I think part of that rests with the EPA.
Right.
The different timelines of the different projects.
Well, again, in the hamlet, we may break out the storage, because that's one key element of it that we can do independently, and just
Yeah.
put a contract out for the storage tank. And then from there, we really need to know what the EPA is doing as far as our filtration.
And
We're looking at September for like a milestone date.
Yeah.
For their decision.
And we've discussed it with them, I think, about the letter of commitment. We had a discussion with them last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago. They understand we need their commitment letters. So.
Right.
Now, if we weren't, no, let's not say that. We need water for Ryan Drive, so I'm just going to say I'm very cautiously hopeful that the EPA gets funded for this project. But if they don't get funded for this project for any reason whatsoever by Congress, you know, we don't want to be in the position to overbuild. So we're going to build what we need and be ready. And if something happens, well, then the 3.1 million will drop because we won't have to make that investment. So, and that, again, is a big part of our flexibility, why we need to be able to have the funding there if this is to happen.
Mark, when we apply for funds and we get it, as far as bonding, when do we start paying those back? Is it the time that we start using them? Or is there a certain amount of years until the time we start repaying or make payments?
Well, usually the first payment is due a year from the initial borrowing. And there's different ways we can structure it. We could have short-term loans where we have bands for several years until we have a firmer final number, and then bond long-term at that point. But either way, whether we do a bond anticipation note or a bond, the first payment is typically due a year from the borrowing.
So if these projects are ongoing and we are going to be building the districts, how are you going to be building, if let's say the dome, we bring the structure there, we start, and it's not up yet, are they liable for those payments or they're not?
They will be liable. It's like the Hopewell Hamlet, you know, it was built, but it wasn't completely built out, so we carried some of it, and then they had to repay the general fund. Or I think in that one, we had startup funds, actually.
Well, and that's it. I think
Yeah.
one, right. When
The
you're
district
the
got that
district,
bear.
But then we recoup the funds from the district, the general fund does.
yeah, so at some point, when we're sure we've got the funding, we'll assess taxes at that point to pay for the bond, whether the,
When you say taxes, it's not for the general town.
no,
You're
no,
talking
no,
about
for the
district.
ultimate
The
entity.
district, the water sewer taxes.
Right. And I think regardless of the actual solution, we want to create these two townwide districts, even though there's still some uncertainty about the precise use of the district. Regardless of the solution, these are good tools for us to have, to be able to connect districts.
Feel it's a good investment. Anybody else? Anything else right now, Manny, or I'm not going to
No,
close it? I mean,
just
we're
that, I was trying to get a picture, so we might, if in case we do not have those districts running, use some general fund money to pay for those bonds,
Not for the bonds.
temporarily.
No, I wouldn't anticipate, you know, We can tax the entity before the,
Before they're actually operating.
Before it's
If you're in the district, you're going to get a tax, you're going to get your water or sewer bill.
Right.
So. Okay.
As far as contributions go, once, a while ago, we were talking about Dutchess County. We were on a short list for the storage tank. Did that conversation go away?
Yeah, that was a storage tank for the airport, I think, correct? They needed a storage tank from us?
Well,
Storage tank
we,
location?
our site was one of three
Right.
that
Yeah,
they
we're not building-
chose.
we're not
And
building
they
our tank way over
They
there.
came down and expressed interest, but they have no immediate plans to. build a
Okay,
tank there.
because I said then we could expand the tank and they would contribute.
Well,
Just
just to clarify that, and I mentioned to the councilman this morning, you know, in the beginning, we were looking at putting our storage tank up on the highest point
Right.
across the street, because we thought we could service everybody. When the modeling was done for Ryan Drive, it turns out that for their fire flow protection, okay, we cannot service it from across the street. That's why they put their own tank up on Dogwood. So with that said, for us to incur the expense to cross the creek and go through the rock and put the tank up on top of the hill, it makes more financial sense to put a sister tank next to our tank and just, you know, run off the booster system as we have been and do some upgrades. So the tank will be over here, and EPA will not be contributing towards the tank itself.
Okay, well, I didn't know what direction the lines were going, but if Dutchess County was willing to coin up some money, then
Well, for
we'd
this
be willing to
project,
take
though,
it.
yeah, but for this project, EPA, if they get their funding, is committed over $1 million, and Toll Brothers
Right.
over $1 million. So.
Again, at that location, the county water line is on Palin Road, so they could have come up Bowl potentially and connected to that site, but over here, it doesn't work.
No,
for
good.
Right.
elevation either, so.
Thank you.
Anybody in the audience like to speak for or against this project, this proposal of the townwide water and sewer district? I'm sorry, water improvement area? Okay, any other questions tonight? With that, do I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing on the formation of the town of East Fishkill water and sewer improvement areas to the April 23rd meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carried. Public hearing is now adjourned. Thank you very much. Tonight, we have a few resolutions. The first resolution, recognizing April as Parkinson's Awareness Month. Councilman Franco, would you read resolution number 1, please?
Sure. Whereas Parkinson's disease is a progressive neurological movement disorder of the central nervous system, which has a unique impact on each patient, and according to the Parkinson's Action Network, the Parkinson's Disease Foundation, the American Parkinson's Disease Association, and the National Institute of Health, there are over 1 million Americans diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And whereas symptoms include slowness, tremor, difficulty with balance and speaking, rigidity, cognitive and memory problems, and whereas although new medicines and therapies may enhance life for some time for people with Parkinson's, more work is needed for a cure. And increased education and research are needed to help find more effective treatments with fewer side effects and ultimately a cure for Parkinson's disease. And whereas a multidisciplinary approach to Parkinson's disease care includes local wellness, support, and caregiver groups. And whereas April has been proclaimed as Worldwide Parkinson's Awareness Month, for all to recognize the need for more research and help in dealing with the devastating effects of Parkinson's disease. Now, therefore, we, the Town Board of East Fishkill, do hereby proclaim April as Parkinson Awareness Month in 2015.
Great. Thank you, Councilman. Do I have a motion to designate April as Parkinson's Awareness Month?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Resolution number 2, authorizing the town to participate in Dutchess County Hazard Mitigation Plan Program. I got an email from Dutchess County a while back. The county is going to embark upon a hazard mitigation plan. We actually did our hazard mitigation plan. We began it about 3 years ago. It was formally adopted by FEMA last year, which is actually one of the reasons that our grant application for hazard mitigation has gone so far in the process. We do not need to join with the county, but because the county would be better off if everybody in the county participated, I talked to Bill Beal, who's up at the emergency center, and I said to him that we would send him a copy of our hazard mitigation plan. The company doing it for the county is the same company that did ours. So I sent them a copy of our CD, of our hazard mitigation plan that was approved by FEMA, and he asked that we would authorize a letter of intent to join the county hazard mitigation plan. Now, our hazard mitigation plan is good for 5 years, doesn't have to be updated until 5 years. We still have 4.5 years on it, or 3.5 years on it. But just in case, it might be good to be part of the county consortium. So they asked us to authorize the letter of intent. There's no cost to the town, and we've already given them our plan. So basically, that's what they're requesting. So do I have a motion to authorize the letter of intent for the hazard mitigation plan of Dutchess County?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Number 3 is to refer a rezone application for Route 82 in Clove Branch area to the Planning Board and to the Dutchess County Planning Department for comments, whereas Dr. Vig has filed an application requesting a rezone of property grid number 6458-04-720105, and upon filing the petition with the town clerk and payment of the requisite fees, the matter is now before the town board. Whereas the town board has determined that it is appropriate to refer this matter to the planning board to review, to be lead agency under SECRA, and to refer the same to Dutchess County Planning Board for comment. Whereas it is the desire of the town board to make said referral, do I have now therefore be resolved that the rezoning application from Dr. Vig filed with the town clerk be and hereby is referred to the planning board for its review and comment, as well as to the planning board to conduct to the planning board for its review. I believe this is and for the as well for the planning board to conduct a secret review of said petition as lead agency, and therefore be resolved that the town clerk be and hereby is authorized and directed to refer said petition to Dutchess County Planning for their comment and review as required by law. Basically, Dr. Vig is asking for a rezone of a property up on Route 82 by Clove Branch, and he's filed his applications with us, and we're going to send it to the planning board and the county for their review. Do I have a motion to refer this application?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Number 4 is to adopt Local Law 2 of 2015, amending the zoning code 194-62 on nursing homes and alternative care housing. Whereas the town board has proposed amendments to the zoning code, section 194-62, nursing homes and alternative care housing. And whereas the town board had a public hearing on February 26, 2015, therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby adopts Local Law 2 of 2015, amending the zoning code, section 194-62. Do I have a motion to adopt Local Law 2 of 2015, amending the zoning code, section 194-62?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, Councilman D'Alessandro, would you read resolution number 5, please?
Yeah, approving request for proposal, whereas the town previously applied to the New York State DEC to receive a grant so it could conduct an inventory of trees within the town. And the town of East Fishkill has requested proposals for a tree inventory for the town. And the proposals have been received and reviewed by the Conservation Advisory Council, the CAC. And the CAC has made a recommendation to the town board to set forth in the attached schedule. Now therefore be it resolved that the following be and hereby are awarded the contract for the tree inventory, Davy Tree Expert Company. Be it further resolved, said inventory shall be paid from the proceeds of the grant.
Thank you, Councilman. We have tonight with us is Lori Brangelman. She's our Town of East Fishkill landscape person, and Brent Feldwig, chairman of our CAC, and also a very knowledgeable arborist. And we've discussed this. And I would like to say this about a tree inventory. Obviously, you know, we have a lot of trees in the town of East Fishkill, and you might think it's a little odd to do a tree inventory, but I think it's important, especially in public areas. A few years ago, there was a tree limb fell off of a tree on a town road. It was actually not on the town road. The tree was actually on somebody's property. people were hurt when the tree limb fell down, and the insurance company paid out a settlement, I believe, of $700,000. But so as we go forward, and I've spoken with Lori and Brent about this tree inventory is really for public places to identify and inventory trees. But I would like to continue, if we could, getting grants to inventory trees in the town of East Fishkill. And I think one of the biggest things we also would like to look at is trees along public right-of-ways. I think it's very important. We have a town tree crew, and they do a very good job, but I think also to help the tree crew, it is good if we can do like a multi-year tree inventory, or like a tree review of our trees in the town of East Fishkill. Being 53 square miles, we have a lot of trees. That being said, do I have a motion to approve the request for the, I'm sorry, do I have a motion to award the tree inventory grant?
John, are we having a discussion on this?
Yes, we are. As soon as I get a motion and a second.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Yes. Any discussion?
I have some question about this. I mean, I would like to see how the board feels about this, this grant application and the use of this money to count trees in our public area. What would be the negative impact if we don't do this and send the money back? I personally think that this money, it's wasted taxpayers' dollars, and I don't want to see it used this way. I don't know how the rest of the board feels. I would like to hear somebody else's opinion. I know that when some of us ran, for election, we ran to save taxpayers' dollars. I just want the community to know that grants is taxpayers' dollars. Now, we use this money cautiously, I'm all for it. But to count trees and use $20-something thousand, I think that it's foolish and it's a waste of money. So I don't know how everybody else feels about it.
Well,
I would like to hear.
Councilman, you're right, it is taxpayer money, and that's an exact way of looking at it, but you can also look at it as another way, where grants are a rebate check. And this is an opportunity for our people, and their hard-earned taxpayer money, where we get a chance to get something back for them.
Tom, do you realize that
Because this money, if we give this money back, it's going to get spent somewhere else. Another town is going to get that.
I told you we were going to go there. You realize that the federal budget, the federal spending is at $18 trillion, over $18 trillion.
Yes.
That's because of these type of grants spent for stuff that really is not. What would be the negative impact? My question is, if we don't
It's not a
use that
negative,
money.
I understand that, but you have to understand that grants, the way they're derived, they've been going up since LBJ, since his whole Great Society. And the only time that they were really stemmed was Ronald Reagan, because he
Okay.
did something a little bit different.
I know, but all the political and things,
Well,
understood.
this is
Yeah.
a big deal, because it goes to a block grant. Block grants are far more better to go for, because it doesn't, the other ones are categorical. That's when the federal government comes in and sort of messes around with local municipalities. Block grants, that goes, obviously you probably know, it goes to the states, and then the states can determine what programs are good for them. But this is a way for us to get our taxpayers their money back. Otherwise, we're just surrendering it to them. So we're surrendering the money.
If I may,
Let's hear what the town
both of you,
supervisor's got to say
just
about this.
one second. I understand both your points, but I think we are trying to achieve something here besides spending money and not spending money. Brent is with us. Brent, you're our arborist. Could you come up and just talk a little bit about, and we will decide if a tree grant is really something. I think there is value to a tree grant. Sure. As I said, the aforementioned accident that the insurance company paid $700,000 on. It's good to know, but Brent, do you have any thoughts on?
Yeah, John, I appreciate the opportunity to come up, and thank you for the questions from the board. It's always good to be assessing a project like this. When we begin planning this grant request, we tried to make it extremely specific and write a set of specifications that would give us the most value for the dollar in the town in undertaking a tree inventory. The areas that we focused on are the trees under which people spend most of their time on public properties. The trees around the Hopewell Rec that people are constantly enjoying the shade from, parking under, watching their kids play softball. The trees in the buffer areas, we designated an 80-foot buffer area, which is basically the height of the average tree, along the edges of the rec area, along the edges of the soccer complex, along the edges of Red Wing Park, where people would park, where people would be using the playgrounds. We wanted to have this inventory pick up, first of all, trees that need help, trees that are a hazard, that are in those border areas that could, if they fell directly toward, those frequently used areas by the public, could present a hazard. So that's one of the things that's one of the pieces of data that we're anticipating from this tree inventory. The second piece of data we're anticipating from this tree inventory is to identify ash trees, white ash trees, that are worthy of protection in those same buffer areas in the town landscapes. Emerald ash borer is an insect that we're seeing attack ash trees on a large scale basis. What we wanted to pick up in this inventory is where we have ash trees that are within those areas of public use that are worthy of protection. Ash trees are a species of trees that, once they're attacked by this insect or by another, form of disease or blight, tend to become unstable fairly quick. So we wanted to find out where these ash trees are, if they're a worthy tree of significance enough to, make financial sense to protect from emerald ash borer. We wanted to know that tree existed. If not, we wanted to be proactive and then know where that tree was, so that we could take the proper action. This tree inventory is going to give us, this is going to give us a prioritized list that we can use to guide the town tree crew to say, okay, you need to go out, to the edge of the ballpark out here, and there's a maple tree out there that we found is hazardous that needs to come down. We're going to prevent a lot of undesirable surprises by creating a set of data that we can use to guide the town tree crew in the future. Yeah. So this inventory was by no means designed haphazardly. This was designed very carefully and very specifically to give us several chunks of data that we feel are going to be, very important to use in the future. Okay?
Thank you. So, and I understand your point, Councilman. I understand your point. I do think there's a value in a tree inventory as far as liability and safety of the citizens. And we're talking about public areas. But I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts on it.
Well, we've discussed before that there's many different people in our town that we are representing, people that care about trees, people that care about open space, people that only care about their tax dollars. Yeah. I think that everybody knows that we're very cautious to spend taxpayer dollars. We never broke a tax cap. This past year, we have a zero net. We're everybody's getting a check back from the state for whatever little increase that we are going to get. Yeah. I think there's a value in spending grants that the federal government does provide to give back to the community. I understand that it is another tax, but there's also the value of quality of life. Everything's not always about money. It's about quality of life, too. So.
Okay. And I think that for me, the safety aspect, especially with the incident, as I said to Brent, I would like to see the tree program actually, because I believe this grant comes up every year. This is a big grant, and I would like to see this, we take this with our tree crew, the highway tree crew, and do a better job of inventorying the trees along the roadways also. So that's my thoughts.
This should take roughly, how long is this expected to take?
The estimates I got was, once they get started on the inventory, we should expect to have data back from them on the outside of about 2 months, but probably quicker than that.
'Cause I remember this was pushed by the ash tree was the big thing that pushed this and started the
That's
ball
really,
rolling.
Well-
you know, how it
Some
started.
bug.
You know, the data is gonna be very, very usable for us. We did consult with Rick Witt, you know, from the.
You want to stand up there if we're going to continue, but if you want to wrap up,
Yeah,
we do have a,
we did consult with Rick from, you know, from the, from the building department to make sure that the data, how the data was going to be, you know, basically presented and, you know, and delivered to us was going to be
Well,
the
it's going to be
most.
mapped.
Yeah, it's going to be mapped, but it's also going to be electronic. It's going to be, you know, be able to be located based, you know, both by physical, you know, physical address and also by GIS. So it's going to be very usable data, and it's going to be in a form where we can apply it to, you know, to our GIS system in the town and use it through that system to make it very, you know, very user-friendly.
thank you.
Brian, I have a suggestion while you're over there. Do you also think that if we had taken a picture of a tree that is diseased and give it to the people that the recreation department, that they cut the grass, even a young lady that takes care of the arborage, that they could identify a tree that is deceased or there are some issues?
Sure, you know, public input and
Well, training,
you
I
know,
think, is a big
people's
part.
observations of a potential hazard is always welcome. Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
Supervisor, could I just ask a question?
Sure.
Were there any other requirements associated with the grant? I at one point heard something about a tree ordinance for tree cutting.
No.
For
This is
for this one, no.
Okay.
For
And,
future ones,
excuse me,
we
I'd like
may
to stay
have.
on track with what
Yeah.
the discussion, okay?
Yeah.
I'd just like to know the feelings about this grant application.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Because I think we made it clear our position on the grant and where we're going to go from here. I would like to see this applied, though, further down the road, if we could, as far as the trees, the highway crew, bringing them into it so we can actually identify any problems in the future. Okay? All right. We have a motion and a second. Any more questions before we call for a vote?
I just want to make it another pitch that we're not spending this money wisely. John, I know that Councilman D'Alessandro said that grants money is there to be used. I don't disagree if it's used for certain stuff that, you grew up in this town, John. You lived in this town for the longest time. Did you have this type of inspections on the trees before?
Now that the population is 30,000, when I was growing up, the population was probably about 1/30th of that. And I think what we're seeing is there's a lot more traffic, a lot more use. And the trees that we're inventorying are in public properties. So I do think, in my mind, public safety is a big issue. On the farm, did we look at the trees? After they fell, and we cut them up for firewood. But there's probably only 10 of us and about 40 cows. So it really wasn't an issue unless you hit a cow. That was
We
really a
also
big
have
problem.
insurance to take care of those problems.
And do you not think that our insurance our insurance policies went up because of the $700,000 payout for that one
I don't have
tree?
those details in front of me.
No. What I said before, we had an insurance claim some years ago, probably about 5 years ago. So, and I understand you're making, you know, you said you want to make your pitch again, and I think you've made your point, and I think everybody's made their point. So we have a motion and a second. So I'll say, Madam Clerk, would you please poll the board?
Councilperson Cassidy.
Aye.
Councilperson D'Alessandro.
Aye.
Councilperson Franco.
Aye.
Councilperson Marinaro.
Now,
Supervisor Hickman.
Aye. Thank you, Madam Clerk, and I am understanding everybody's position. I think it's a good thing for public safety. All righty. Let's see, Councilman Cassidy, would you read the concession stand bids? Oh, it's not that long. I didn't realize Councilman Franco had the longest one.
Whereas on various recreational sites owned and operated by the town, there are concession facilities, and whereas the town board has reviewed requests for proposals for various vendors to utilize the concession facilities on those sites to serve the users of the facilities during the summer months, and whereas the board has reviewed the references, the menus, and other issues pertaining to the vendors, and whereas it is the desire of the town board to authorize the use of the concessions. Now therefore be it resolved that the Hopewell Recreation Area concession facility will be utilized from April 30th, 2015 through October 1, 2015 by East Fishkill Provisions upon payment to the town of the sum of $1,500 and upon agreement that the vendor to be open during all activities and events on the sites as set forth in the annexed proposals. And be it further resolved that the East Fishkill Soccer Complex on Route 52 concession facility may be utilized from April 30th, 2015 through October 1, 2015 by East Fishkill Soccer Club on payment of the sum of $1,000 and upon agreement that the vendor to be open during all activities and events on the site as set forth in the annexed proposal and report that the net actually was at end. Be it further resolved that all the vendors that shall sign a letter of agreement as prepared by the town attorney and provide the town attorney for approval. Certificates of insurance prior to entering upon the opening and the use of the concession facilities.
Thank you, Councilman Cassidy. Also, we have a letter of recommendation from the Recreation Advisory Board for these two vendors. Do I have a motion to award the concession stand bids as recommended?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. There was food involved, so I didn't think there'd be any discussion. All righty. Councilman Marinero, would you read resolution number 7, please?
Appoint part-time recreation assistant, whereas due to the staffing changes in the senior citizen program, a part-time recreation assistant is needed at the community center. And whereas the recreation supervisor for the senior citizen program has submitted a request to hire Mary Calabrese as the recreation assistant on a temporary basis. And now therefore be it resolved that the town board does hereby appoint Mary Calabrese as part-time recreation assistant. Mary will now work more than 20 hours a week and will be hired under the CSEA agreement at the level 3 paid at $13.29 per hour.
Thank you, Councilman. Do I have a motion to authorize the hiring of a recreation assistant in the senior center on a temporary basis?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Tonight, resolution number 8 will be tabled. Number 9, to appoint recreation directors for the summer camp and Red Wing Park. Whereas the town of East Fishkill conducts extensive summertime programs for the youth of the town, and whereas the Director of Recreation has requested, rehire Brad Bangle for the position of Director of the East Fishkill Town Camp, and the Director of Recreation has also requested the rehire of Brad Westrick for the position of Director of Red Wing Park, and it is the desire of the town board to authorize these employees for the summertime period as set forth in the memo attached thereto. Be it further resolved that said employment shall only be for summertime employment and that upon completion of their task, they shall be removed from payroll unless further ordered by the town board. And their salaries are Brad Westrick, Red Wing Director, $25 per hour, and Brad Bangle is paid a lump sum, $10,000 for the season for salary. Do I have a motion to authorize the hiring of directors for the town camp and Red Wing Park?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. And just so the board knows, tonight we're going to hire the directors, and as we will be quickly coming into the summer period, we will be also doing the directors underneath them, the counselors, and the other staff. So
And we're lucky to have them too. They're very, very good.
they both ran very good programs last year. Resolution number 10, Peter, it's a short one.
Whereas, as the town previously authorized the advertisement of bids for various materials and supplies utilized by the Highway Department, and whereas the bids have been received by the town clerk and a summary has been prepared, and whereas it is the desire of the town board to award said bids to the lowest responsible bidders, now therefore be resolved that the bids and materials and goods for the Highway Department, as set forth in the attached schedule, being labeled the lowest responsible bidder, be and hereby are awarded by the town board. Be it further resolved that the town clerk shall notify all bidders of their award.
Thank you, Councilman. We did receive a letter of recommendation from the Highway Superintendent Dennis Miller regarding yearly bids. I've reviewed all the yearly bids that have been submitted. All the low bids in each category have been highlighted. Please accept the bids that have been highlighted. Thank you. Do I have a motion to award the highway spring bid and spring equipment and material bids as submitted and recommended by the highway superintendent?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. You make a very happy highway superintendent. He's got equipment now. Number 11 is to approve the dates for the Sons of Italy events. Councilman Franco, would you read that one, please?
Whereas the Sons of Italy conduct their annual event to provide entertainment to the community and to raise funds for charitable purposes, and whereas the town has traditionally allowed them the use of the Hopewell Recreation Field for this purpose. And a written request has been received by the town for 2015, and therefore be it resolved that the Sons of Italy annual event to be held on May 22nd, 2015 through May 24th, 2015 at the Hopewell Recreation Field, be and hereby is authorized, and now therefore be it resolved that May 25th, 2015 would be available to the Sons of Italy in the event they lose a day due to inclement weather. And be it further resolved that the town police, town recreation department, and all other agencies of the town are authorized and directed to allow the use of the Hopewell Recreation Field by the Sons of Italy on those days. And be it further resolved that this consent is subject to the receipt of a certificate of insurance from the Sons of Italy indemnifying the town for any liability arising out of their use of the fields.
Thank you, Councilman. Do I have a motion to authorize the closure of the Hopewell Recreation Fields and approve the dates for the Sons of Italy events?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I do have one item from the floor.
John, next time, maybe we could push up the Sons of Italy. They were here for their resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry. You can come up if you want. Okay. All right.
No, she says.
There you go. Thank you.
How you doing, guys?
Good.
My name is Mike DeLuca, and I'm an executive board member with the Sons of Italy. I'm also, excuse me, the festival director, and this is going to be the 27th year running this festival. And again, we want to thank the board and the town and the police department and the fire department and EMS and for all your support.
Wow.
This is a historic year for us also. The lodge was chartered in 1971. I wasn't part of it back then. I was only 3 years old, but this year will be 44 years, and we've always had a male president. This year, for the first time ever, we have a female president. This is Donna Teresi, and she is the acting president of the Joe DiMaggio Lodge. Thank you again for allowing us to use.
And I just want to say thank you very much for all your support. Your police department and all your services go above and beyond. We love them dearly.
Great.
They're
Thank you.
heroes.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll give them a round of applause, too. And, you know, it's always a pleasure to work with the Sons. Your group does fantastic things, and we feel like we really work well together, so we're always here for you. We appreciate that. Alrighty, last resolution. I have to do one from the floor. Because this should have been done back in January. It's authorization for the reimbursement of the town people who attended the Association of Towns this February. We forgot to do that one, and since I know some council members and some of our professionals attended, we're going to need to pay you back. So do I have a motion from the floor to authorize reimbursement for attendance at the Association of Towns?
So moved.
Do Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Now the comptroller can pay you back. Great.
I say we pigeonhole that.
Oh, you should have tabled that one, right? All righty. Budget transfers, that's the comptroller. There's no budget transfers this evening? Okay, thank you very much. All righty, tonight we're going to take public comments and general town issues. This is that part of the agenda. We're taking comments. Anybody in the audience would like to get up and speak on any general town issues. Now, I just would like to say this is not a question and answer period. This is not a debate. This is a time when we take comments from the public. So if you'd like to come up, make a comment, please feel free.
Hello, John. And the rest of you guys. You too, there. Mustache. We got a problem on Creamery and 82. Seems that's a state road, and they have more money than we have. They just keep paving and paving and paving. If they pave any more, it's going to be like a ramp. You go over there, you're like this here. So maybe we can do something about that. Talk to them, get them to cooperate with us, or work on Clover Branch Road, so it's not like that.
All righty. Peter, would you speak with the highway superintendent? If you'd ask him to take a look at that, I appreciate it.
There's a road, can't think of the name of the thing. It's where Van Wyck High School is, the road across from there.
Yeah, Hillside Lake Road.
It's got more potholes on it than it has road. And nothing seems to be done about it. When you ride on that road, you either have to go like this here or go in the other lane. And sometimes you can't, and you're in a big hole and you're ruining your car. Okay. Another thing I've spoken to you about before is this bridge we have. It's an eyesore, and that's the entrance to East Fishkill.
Which entrance is that?
The bridge up here, where Williams is.
Oh, on 82.
You get a lot of potholes on that, and that bridge is a disgrace.
New York State has promised that bridge was supposed to come down in 2010. And I think in 2020, we'll still be waiting for them to take that bridge down.
Well, even if they just paint it, would be a big asset.
That's understood. But I would just like to point out, this has been a tough winter. A lot of our roads are in very difficult shape right now. The highway crews are starting to come out and do a lot of patchwork and stuff. So hopefully the county and the state will follow suit. But I know our guys will be coming out pretty soon. We're supposed to have snow again tomorrow. I hope that the weatherman is wrong. But this has been a very, very tough winter.
Jump on Dennis, huh?
All those smiling faces. Let me take a selfie. Hold on. Guys, I got no humor. A couple of topics I'd like to touch on today. They're not far into town board meetings by any means. They are Hillside Lake and recreation. More precisely in the recreation area, I'd like to talk about public recreation in the north corridor of East Fishkill, where there seems to be minuscule recreation available. As well, I'm not only talking about sports-related recreation, I'm talking about general recreation, which also supports and encourages a healthy lifestyle, as well as safety in recreation. For the residents of northern East Fishkill, access to the town-provided and taxpayer-funded recreation requires travel which may not be considered substantial to some, but it's substantial to many, if not most, in its locations. This includes the Lime Kill facility as well as the proposed Julie's Jungle, which although is a great benefit to the town in general, it's quite a trek for the northern sector of East Fishkill's handicapped children and families. With some maintenance, reparation, and attention to detail, the Hillside Lake community would be a shoe-in for this void and ensure 4 seasons of quality recreation, not only to northern East Fishkill, but to the entire town as well. Additionally, it would bring up some unique recreational outlets to East Fishkill, which currently are not prevalent within our town. Some of these changes that would bring these recreational benefits to East Fishkill residents are engineering an elevated pathway around the lake, which has been discovered, which has been mentioned several times and was also in the one of the renewage plans. The elevation can be created by dredging the lake and pushing the dredged material to the sides, therefore creating a wide path that can then have a paved area for walking, jogging, bike riding. It will also incur safety for those who currently walk around the lake on the road. And it's quite a dangerous situation to actually walk on a lake, around the lake, especially with children. And I would have to believe there are many people that would walk around the lake if it was more of a safe situation. Additionally, there could be benches placed along the pathway around the lake for simply relaxing, reading, enjoying the lake views. Quality of life. Nick, you brought up quality of life before. Let's talk quality of life. Just another option, and I'm just throwing out options. There are many more than I'll say here. I just want to name a few. If we stock the lake with fish, you bring fishing recreation to northern East Fishkill. Right now, I believe Emmeline Pond and the lake over here are the only fishing areas. I don't believe there's much of anything in Emmeline Pond to fish for. It's more of a relaxing thing to cast your rod out and pull it back in with an empty hook. If we were to stock the lake, it can also be used for aquatic education programs for our high schools, Boy Scouts, etc. Some species of fish will as well help clean the lake. Cleaning the lake itself will provide other recreational facilities, other recreational abilities such as canoeing, kayaking, non-motor boating if it's deep enough, ice skating, which we seem to be losing more and more each year, and ice hockey, which is the areas that's available to be done with are getting smaller and smaller each year. Additionally, we could, upon dredging, fill the old swimming area with the dredged material, allowing us to use that area for possibly picnic pavilions for family gatherings, children's birthday parties, celebrations, etc. Install tennis court, a basketball court. There's no basketball in East Fishkill that I know of. Are there basketball courts in East Fishkill? You don't have to answer that. I know you don't want to answer anything. You could even go as far as putting a large public pool in there if you wanted to. And as well, that would be the prime location to install additional playground equipment that is handicap accessible in the northern area of Hillside Lake. I know you're a proponent of that. Additionally, there's the playground that's in Hillside Lake with a large grassy area that has nothing on it. Same thing, we can install a picnic pavilion there for gatherings, etc. Install a tennis, basketball court, volleyball court. The sky's the limit, basically, when it comes to that. In addition to the recreational benefits that this project would bring to all the residents of East Fishkill, there would also be additional benefits which could please many. Recreation in close proximity is desirable for young families looking to buy houses. This not only helps the local realtors to sell properties in Hillside Lake, but it benefits those who are trying to or want to sell their property. Property values would increase, benefiting those who bought early and those who sell down the road. The increase in property value would also increase tax revenue for the town and possibly even counterbalance the cost to maintain the recreational areas. Stormwater drainage issues can be addressed via piping under the proposed raised walkway. We've discussed this in the past, eliminating any mixing of stormwater into our spring-fed lake. So we understand that, I should have mentioned that actually, that I'm up here as a Hillside Lake board member, speaking as a Hillside Lake board member, representative of Hillside Lake. So when I say we, that's what I'm referring to. We understand that Supervisor Hickman has stated many times in the past that he prefers to talk face-to-face. Therefore, we can't emphasize enough how important it is to work through this concept in person rather than through email. We have a petition to submit in order to have a meeting with Supervisor Hickman, Mr. Bryant, and Mr. Marinaro, and we'd like you to please advise us of 2 dates in the near future, possibly within the next 30 days, that we can prepare for a 1-hour sit-down to discuss this concept. This petition comes on the heels of the positive consideration you showed towards preserving open space and creating additional public recreation in what was referred to as the Lake Walton Park concept in cooperation with Dutchess County and Scenic Hudson as recent as February 12th of this year. And if you would like to invite them along to this meeting, that would be fine if we wanted to look at it as a cooperative thing. Lastly, it's already understood that to take on this effort, it will require dissolution of the Hillside Lake Park District as we know it today. We, the Hillside Lake Park District Advisory Board, are aware and in favor of this. Therefore, it's of eminent importance that the Hillside Lake Park District Advisory Board be fully involved in any dissolution efforts should they take place. And with that, I'd like to pass these out. Copy for each of you.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. How's everybody? Thank you for letting me come up here and speak. I just wanted to reiterate what Michael has shared with you, that as a board member on Hillside Lake Advisory Board, I'm totally in favor in having this, petitioning this meeting and having an open discussion to discuss what the possibilities are. Like you said, you know, it is about a quality of life. The Hillside Lake people have paid and paid over the years to have something that we haven't been able to accomplish in the past. And this is definitely a door and a window open at the same time. And we're pretty excited about it and thought, wow, this could be a really good resolve. So I just wanted to let you know that, you know, I appreciate, you know, your input by having a meeting with us. Thank you.
Good evening. I too would like to express support in the petition presented this evening by the Hillside Lake Park District Advisory Board. I think it would be a win-win for the entire residency of the town of East Fishkill. I think the concept to transform Hillside Lake for town-wide usage has been discussed with each and every one of the town board members at different focus groups. I'm not sure how far that got up to your desk, Mr. Hickman, but that has been a desire and spoken about at length at each of these meetings. Furthermore, I think it would be a good piggyback in the event of the acquired grant that you've been seeking, and in the event of the inability to acquire that grant. I think it would be a good head start if the Park District were dissolved and perhaps some recreation starting to be commenced. Thank you.
Good evening. I would like to second what the advisory board had to say. I have a few other issues here. John, you made a remark that, you know, you want comments. I don't know that just coming up here and making a comment is the way to get any place. I think that some things need a dialogue and some input, and well, I just wanted to comment on the fact that you want comments only. I think it's a way of suppressing people, and I don't think that's a very good thing for any of us. Maybe to substantiate what I just said is that I have a question for Scott. You're saying you don't want questions. I don't know how to, I really don't know how else to pose it. And these are follow-ups. A lot of these things are follow-ups. So, you know, I don't want to track people down or chase people down or leave messages and wait for people to get back to me. I come to the town here to try and get some resolve and some answers. So I hope you can appreciate my questions.
I would just like to make one comment to
Sure.
the clerk, if I would. I'd
Well,
just like to
the clerk
say-
is not here.
If you don't mind, I'm just making one comment to the clerk.
Yeah.
Step to the
Oh,
bathroom.
she left? Well, I'd like to make one
Yeah.
comment to the
This
board.
is the second time the clerk has left
Excuse me,
when I
may
get up
may
to
I-
speak.
Excuse me.
I don't know
I'd
what
just
the
like to make
problem
a-
is, if I have some sort of effect.
I think she
All
has
right,
to go to the bathroom.
if the board would not mind, I would like to make a comment, if you're all right. I know, Scott, that you've had meetings, you've made yourself available for any questions that Mr. Grasso has had in the past, and I know that you will continue to do that, you and your office in the future, correct? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, John, I'm not denying that. It goes beyond Scott. It's really a simple question. I just would like to know, regarding that catch basin, Scott, could you let us know when we can expect somebody over there to, you know, the one near Sunny Dock?
Yeah, well, the asphalt
But
plant's
Scott,
won't open.
this is for comments. I think I made that very clear in the beginning. If you'd
Okay.
like, you speak with Scott often. I know you call, and you can discuss this another time.
Okay.
This is for comments.
Okay, so I'll ask my question, and then you could turn it into a comment only. And I would respectfully ask the people in this town to get on the phone and have some input to your office as to how you're suppressing people's from having a dialogue. I think it's totally the wrong thing to do, John. Okay, so I guess I'll have to call you, Scott, to get an answer about the catch basin. That's too much to do right here, right now, I guess. I don't know, I have questions. I don't have comments, John.
I would suggest that you
I had
make
mentioned about the drones. I was wondering if you had a chance to look into it. I don't know, do I have to call your office for that? Or could you just, you know, comment on it now?
If you'd like to call the office, that would be
I
appropriate.
really don't want to call the office. I would like just to address it in public so that the public has knowledge of your response. Why does this have to be a private matter instead of a public matter?
I would just like to say, this is the part of the meetings for comments. This is not a question and answer. This
Well,
is
I
not-
heard that.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
I'm speaking. This is
Go
not a
ahead.
debate. This is for comments. If anybody would like to make a comment, you're more than welcome to make a comment. If you'd like follow-up, if follow-up is warranted, anybody here can follow up anytime. And I know the engineer, the attorney, we've all made ourselves very, very available.
Okay.
If anybody has any questions, I believe you just met Friday for a couple hours with Mr.
John,
Grasso.
you're going
So I'm
back
not
on
saying
something that doesn't make
you
any
can't do
sense.
it.
You're talking in circles right now about Scott. We're past Scott right now, so I don't even know what you're talking about. Again, I would urge the public. So in other words, when I have a question, the public should call you to find out what your response is. If they have an interest to my question, they should call your office to get a response as to what the question is, right? That's what you're saying to the people. I had asked about appointing a highway superintendent in the future. I guess you said that you would give that some thought. I guess you don't want to let me know or the public know if you gave that any thought. I'll be bringing it up again and again, but I mentioned about speeding. I don't know, you said that you were going to speak to the chief and have major sweeps around or anything. And with all due respect to the East Fishkill Police Department, who I'm sure is very busy, I haven't seen anybody around in Hillside Lake doing any major sweeps, and that's not taking anything away from them. I think that that is probably a little bit impossible for them to do, despite the fact you said that you're going to see to having that done. So I guess it's going in one ear and out the other, because you're just looking at me and you have nothing to say about it. I had conversation with Gina the other day. I said, I think that I'm really a patient person, more than willing to work with anybody. But what does working with somebody mean? Commenting and not getting any kind of answer here for the public? Is that what you call, you know, like willing to work with people? I don't understand it. So, again, there's an issue about speeding, and I'll ask the question. You don't have to answer if you don't want. I would like to know, you know, there's been other people up here complaining about speeding. There's somebody in this room right now that I know that had a problem on their road with speeding. You made a remark that you'd have to have Dennis Miller here. I don't see Dennis Miller here. I don't see it. Is it in one ear and out the other? And this is not how I want to approach this. I didn't come up here and with intentions of, you know, getting to this point. I wanted to have normal discussion. You bring this on. Again, regarding to the speeding, you know, there's a need, obviously there's a need for something to be done. You're against speed humps, you said. You said that you would look into them, speak to Dennis. I don't see that happening here. And there's people's lives at stake, and you just want to sit back and not do anything about it. You don't want to comment on that. You want to let our children and the people of this town just know that there's a problem, and you don't want humps for whatever reason. They're overwhelmed with other business. So you are the supervisor. I ask you, what other solution do you think that there might be? You don't want to answer because it's a question. Okay. I think that might be it, John. You know, I have pictures on my phone of people walking around the lake from, you know, a vantage point where they're walking around the curve at this point with the car coming, that when the car sees them, they veer off a little bit, and you see how they progress down the road and how dangerous it is. I don't know what you plan to do about it, but I hope you do something. I called the town hall the other day for the dog warden. I don't know if the town has a dog warden or what the label is for the dog warden, but I didn't get any prompts directing me to the dog warden, nor did I get a prompt directing me that if there's an issue that I should call the police department for a dog or cat issue or whatever. I think that there's something wrong with that. And I think that that needs some sort of correction and direction for the people that may have a concern. I wouldn't think to call the police department to ask them if anybody found my cat. Now, I don't know. I mean, maybe I didn't watch 60 Minutes or something, but I just wouldn't want to be bothering them to ask them if they found my cat. So I think that something should be done to let the people. Do we have a dog warden, or you don't want to answer that either? I guess you don't want to answer that. Okay. So the town doesn't know if we have a dog warden or whatever you want to call it. Well, that's it, John. Thank you. And I hope the town I hope the people in this town see what you're trying to do. You're trying to run this town like a crime boss. That's what you're trying to do.
Thank you. For the record, I would just like to make a couple of comments. Yes, the town does have a dog warden. It is directed through the police department. We have 2 of them. They're part-time, and you can contact the police department anytime. I would just like to make a few comments, and I would like to offer to Mr. Grasso that if you'd like to make an appointment to stop in and talk, I don't think that this is the proper venue for a question and answer or a debate period. So I'd be more than happy to meet with him anytime he calls for an appointment. That's no problem at all. Regarding speeding, there will be taken care of. I have looked into the speed bumps, actually, and discussion with the highway superintendent a while back about that, and there appears to be some issues with speed bumps. The insurance companies don't appear to like them because they can also create accidents as much as slow people down. So the insurance companies are not big fans of speed bumps. We have looked into that, and it's a difficult situation, obviously. But we have looked into that. But I would say to anybody who wants to come in and sit down and talk about anything, call and make an appointment. My door is open. I just don't think that this is the venue to have a debate or question and answers of that sort of nature. And I'm still not sure where I stand on drones. So that's my answer for the record. And if there's anybody else like to speak in the audience, please feel free.
I would like to know how anybody is supposed to know that they are supposed to call the police department when I'm trying to let you know that when you call the town and the prompts are there, I think that you ought to have something in those prompts directing the people to the police department. And as far as the speed humps, I'm not talking about speed bumps, I'm talking about speed humps. And you could say whatever you want about slowing anybody down. You made mention that they would be all over town or whatever they would be. I don't know why they would be any place other than what is necessary. And if you think that they would be all over town, well, then we got a big problem here. This is in a development, and they would be in places that are really warranted, and if there are other developments that have a speeding issue or a safety issue for the people or the children, and they need speed humps, then that's what you ought to do. I don't know what the problem is, and I don't know what Dennis's problem is, but I think safety comes over whatever kind of phobias you people have. I'm done.
Anybody else in the audience like to speak on any general town issues?
I'd just like to make 2 quick comments, and I just think that it's wrong not to allow a dialogue at a town board meeting. Nobody's calling for a debate, but to answer questions, I think is totally within the purview of the town, of the purpose of the town board. Also, I think the highway superintendent should be encouraged to come to the meetings because so many issues are within his jurisdiction, and there's just a constant delay to get answers for that. And that's it.
Thank you. Again, I would like to just point out, if anybody would like to stop in, I have an open door policy. Generally, if we're not too busy, you can stop in or make an appointment. I have no problem. I just know how long these debates and how they can be, and I just feel it's not appropriate to get into long Q&As and debates at a town board meeting.
Michael Wallers again. I'm very interested in what you're referring to as the Hillside Lake Grant. I don't know what the actual name of that is. You often refer to it as the Hillside Lake Grant, so I just want to submit a FOIL for that information.
I have, if I may, I have a couple of comments to make. First one is regarding the Hillside Lake matter. I'm happy to see that the Hillside Lake Board is putting forward a decent proposal and is petitioning the town to go through the steps and create a park in that area over there, which should be used and would be used by all the citizens of East Fishkill. I think it's a long time due. I know that we met with the El Sali Board and we went over all the issues. All the council people are aware of their intentions and their desire. I think the board should consider highly priority this matter so that we could not only resolve an issue that it's been before the town for many years, but at the same time create a nice park for the whole town to really enjoy. I think in this proposal there are some of the basic steps that the board put forward to the town and the town board to review. I don't want this matter to go to sleep. I think it's important, and I think it should be somewhat of a priority for the whole town board to really consider and come back and really start working on this so that we could, if the grant comes, be ready to do the work, and if the grant doesn't come, also be ready to do some work. I also have to say that taking the comments from the public, I personally wouldn't mind answering them. I think that to stop the board from answering and addressing the community, it's not what I would like to see East Fishkill Town Board to from now on. I mean, we've had these meetings for a long time, and the format, people have asked questions, and we were there to give them the answers. I understand if there is specific to sit with the different departments, I'm all in favor of that. So, excuse me, as far as I'm concerned, I would like to go on the record that if I may, somebody asks a question to the board, that I would like to answer them. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but that's my desire. The other thing, I spoke to a lot of constituents in our community, and they've asked, and they made phone calls to town hall, to some of the officials. They've asked me. I've attended many meetings. There are some important issues that are going on in our community, in our schools, and one of them is Common Core. I know that some people have said that that's not our job, or as leaders of East Fishkill, it's not our main concern. I would really like the board to reflect on that thought, because what we're teaching our kids, it's extremely important for the future of our community. And I would like to see this board, I mean, I attend a lot of the school board meetings and a lot of the community meetings where these issues are raised, and I don't see the leaders of this community come to those meetings and listen to what the people have to say. I know that our job mainly is to financial overlook, but we do live in the community. We have our kids that go to these schools. I think it's extremely important for us to participate and really be informed about this big issue of Common Core and how it's affecting our children in our community. So I would please, again, put forward a call for help from my other colleagues over here on this board to participate. The other thing in the past, and this is something that we are concerned, the tax burden from the schools is extremely high. Okay? Again, when people in our community ask why my taxes are going so high, we say, well, it's because of the schools. But yet, again, we do not participate to put some influence on those school boards I want the community to know that our Wapanger School Board controls a budget of close to $220 million. It's a $250 million a year. And, you know, I consider myself fiscally conservative, and so is the rest of this board. But when you see the way those people are spending our money and our tax dollars, it's incredible. So I think we also have a duty to our town to attend these meetings and let these people know that yes, we are interested, because this is our community. So again, you know, I would like to see some participation from this local board at some of the not the town hall meetings, but the school board meetings, and raise the issue that costs have to be kept, or costs have to be reduced, that our community is really putting under stress financially from the amount of taxes that we collect and deliver to them, and they spend it foolishly. These are the main two comments that I had, and I thank you for your time.
Excuse me, just a couple things I'd like to say. I have no problem with if it was obviously a question and answer period, but unfortunately I've seen so many of these develop into debates, and I just don't think that's the place for this. Again, anybody wants to speak with me, make an appointment, give me a call, you're more than welcome. But I just don't like when the question and answers or the comments on general town issues, and a lot of times that we've seen in the past, they've become more of a debate, and I don't think that has been very helpful to anybody. And that is really why I just want to hold to the comment period. We take notes of the comments. Obviously, as I said, even Mr. Grasso, I have no problem if he wants to come in and talk about any of these issues. We're open, but I just don't feel like here I can see it happens time and time again. It just gets into a debate, and not a very pleasant debate either. As far as this town, I think that the town board does a very good job of looking after the community, looking after the finances of our taxpayers, and I'm really, really proud of them. The school board is a board elected by the public, and we would expect from those people the same that you would expect of us, of being financially astute, being, I would say, financially careful with the taxpayers' money, always remembering that this is taxpayers' money we're all spending. So to that, if nobody does anybody have any comments?
Just a couple of things to bring
Sure.
up. One is, I think the town is working on a big project with the school right now to hopefully save them a lot of money with the water and the sewer.
Yeah.
It's not building two plants. April 28th, just a reminder, is the Easter egg hunt being put on by the
March.
What?
March 28th.
Oh, March 28th.
That's the wrong date.
No,
Yes. Easter is April 5th.
March 28th, or March 4th, the next one. March 28th, the Easter egg hunt being put on by the police department and the rec department. And April 4th is the town cleanup day, where we clean up the roads in the town. And 8:30, if you're interested, if you got roads that need to be cleaned up, if your community wants to get involved, please call the town supervisor's office at 221-4303. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Oh, yes.
Just addressing the no response, the no comments back. If someone comes up and does ask a question, just because it's been asked publicly, in the next meeting, would you address those
Yeah, I mean,
questions that are
I
asked?
took some notes about what have been discussed or requested
That's, I mean,
of
for
us.
anybody that asks a
Yeah,
question, I can
absolutely.
respond to.
Again, I think if you really want to have a talk about a subject, I mean, I know that the public may be interested in so many of these issues. I don't think it's going to be a big issue to have the dog warden put on the telephone. I think that can be accomplished pretty readily, that kind of stuff. There are some issues that, some of the questions that were brought up are not really yes or no questions. They're a little more involved than that, and that they would take, some consideration. That's why I feel that if anybody wants to talk, stop it. We could certainly talk. Anything of public knowledge, though, I have no problem with that, responding. Next week, we're going to be talking a little bit. I will be discussing things with with our engineers and with our police department and all these issues that have been raised tonight. And one thing while you're here, I did want to mention, I have no problem meeting with the Hillside Lake Board if you would like to come at some point. What I would see, and this is just what I see maybe happening, is if we get the grant, the grant's going to become in two phases. It's going to be phase one will be all design, and then the second will be actually the construction portion. And I think if we are lucky enough to get the design portion, we need to sit down, we'll talk, and I think we should talk to the whole community also and make a presentation and work on, what we would like to see the vision for Hillside Lake. But the grant itself, we can only use the money for what it's, supposed to be, and some of it is limited dredging, and some of it is work on the dam. But let's see, we'll be in there too, working with town people helping to, help this out and get the best for the buck.
Well, I thank you for saying that, and just to reiterate, we do look forward to having this meeting in as fast a period of time to get the dialogue going and to, for the whole community. It became aware of it when, the Lake Walton issue came up, and I just think it's a great opportunity to solve two problems at the same time.
I don't know if Scenic Hudson would be interested in Hillside Lake, and the county was interested, it was right on the rail trail. Those were the two big drivers for those.
Well, we're close to the rail trail. We're right up the street. Thank you.
Great. Anybody else like to comment on general town issues? There being none, do I have a motion to close the town board meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Town board meeting is now closed. The next meeting will be April 23rd.
I was going to vote no, just so
2015.
Carol would have to